I think the manner in which you parented us through school is very unique and not something that happens now in the same way. I do not remember you ever, like, unless I asked you to, checking my homework, for example.
No.
Like, I don't remember you ever, you might have said, did you get that done? Or, when's that project due? But I don't remember you ever nagging me to get work done.
The only time I nagged you was when you have a terrible handwriting. You still do.
I do have terrible handwriting.
And I couldn't, you asked me to check something. I couldn't hardly read it. And I just said, does the teacher accept this? And you said, yes, she's fine. And then I left it alone until the teacher didn't appreciate your writing.
Yeah.
And it was up to her to teach you.
Yeah.
Like her job was to teach you. My job was just to look after you.
And so your job is to look after me. But why do you think so many parents now think that looking after their children means nagging them, being so micromanagey about their schoolwork, pushing them to do things in a way that the student is becoming almost like a learned helplessness? Like they don't have ownership of their learning because their parent is going to say to them, you have this due, get this done. You have to work on this now. This
Not
is
good enough.
Yeah. So
no. I don't think they're doing the child a favor. They're trying to put their issues on their child sometimes. I was an A student, so you better be an A student, that sort of thing.
Or your grades reflect on me, so you need to get an A.
Yeah. My parents never, ever talked to me about grades. It was about, did you pass? And the fact that I was trying. You try, you pass. And that was all. But I was a good student. But I wasn't doing it because my parents, because I find that when talking to other parents, when you guys are growing up, it was very important to some people that their child got an A or a B. Mm-hmm. And that was not important to me.
I don't remember. I got a few Bs. I remember getting a few Bs. And no, it was never something that you never made me feel bad about it. You never shamed us about it.
But if you failed the subject, I would have asked why. Because if you could try and you're smart, you should not have failed, except for give me a reason.
But do you think you just were blessed with really kids who had a work ethic? Because I'm trying to think cart horse. I'm trying to think what are the things, what's the manner, like what are these nuggets of like parenting that you can offer in terms of how did you get us to be so autonomous? Like we were independent and we did our job partly because we wanted to make you proud of us, partly because we wanted to get it because, you valued it. So we wanted to value it. But how did you get us to like actually do our work and not complain about it? And
you complain sometimes.
Okay.
But I didn't put pressure on you. I think that is I think some kids have so much pressure on them from outside, be it parents, grandparents, or whoever, or peers, that I tried not to put pressure on you. You did your job, and if you needed some help or something, I was willing to do any of that. And sometimes I overdid it when somebody had an art project just because I like doing art.
It's my brother, everybody. It's my brother. It's a totem pole my brother had to make. Psst, he didn't make it. My mother made it.
And the bottom line is the teachers know.
Yeah.
They know that he's not artistic. He came in with, But anyway, you try not to put, I think a major thing is pressure on the child. And then you had the responsibility, it was, you did the work. I didn't do the works and you got grades. You did it. I didn't. So
and maybe it's like you left us alone. And by leaving us alone, like that's what I wanted, was to be left alone. Like I didn't want you to nag on me. So as long as I did what I needed to do,
I was fine.
You were fine and you left us alone. And so you gave us space, which is counterintuitive, right? Because a lot of parents think that if I hover, that I'm helping, right? Because I'm giving them more support. But if what you're really looking for are these skills that you've talked about in terms of education is your job, but what it means to complete your job is to take responsibility, to work hard, to have a level of accountability. And then ultimately at the end, you get educated, which is a nice outcome. But these skills that you learn along the way, you have to give children space to fail, to try, to fail. Like if you got a bad grade, well, I didn't try very hard. I didn't study for that test. Well, you better study for this next one because that one didn't go very well, did it? and giving us space to make our own mistakes and choose to do the work, as opposed to you telling us all the time, you have to do it, do it this way.
I know a lot of times you weren't appreciative of the fact that I didn't help, or that that you had to do everything on your own. But in the end, I think pressure is really hard, and some of the children now are just pressured so much.
Well, and I don't know Card Horse, but you've definitely raised, all of your children are extremely independent and have a very strong work ethic. And I say these things like I'm saying them about myself. I swear it's more about my brothers and sisters than it is about me. But something turned out well.
Well, the card is you did your job, and the horse is you got educated.
And that education was both in content and in skill, and in skills, like learning. And so then we went to higher education. So you went from this schoolhouse to nursing school. How was the experience of education in that space different than what you had experienced when you were in the earlier years of education? How was the teaching and learning process different? I would imagine that it was much more practical because you were in a vocation, you were learning nursing. It was very hands-on.
You always started with the bookwork in the morning and the lessons, and then in the afternoon you would go and practice a certain skill. So you'd spend the morning in a classroom, and in the afternoon you'd be on a ward or somewhere, and you would practice a certain skill. And the teachers, they organized all that, the other nurses. But it was interesting. It's total. When you leave home and you're doing higher education, it all becomes, okay, now this is totally my responsibility. And I was lucky. My parents was the same. I guess that's where I got. They never interfered in our work. They never, you just did what you're supposed to do. And it was more about what the teacher wrote, your behavior, than by the mark that we would get in trouble.
They wanted you to be good students,
good people,
like good people. Yeah.
And if you were a good person, good hard, like they say, you didn't work.
You worked hard. Yes.
Focus. Well, that was what was a point that I would appreciate you to do.
Right.
And my mom and dad were the same. School's your thing. I don't know that they ever helped study or anything. Mom and dad just hands off. I did a little more than that, but as a higher education, you are totally, at the beginning, you always feel unsupported because there's nobody there to, I always knew there was mom or dad, not that they were going to help me, but they were there. And at university, or when nursing, I was living, you didn't stay home. You lived in residence, which they don't do now. But it's the total, you're responsible, which I tried to teach you guys, to have some of that before you left home.
Yes, it definitely. So growing up, both in my house and your house, we grew up with that emphasis on these skills, this idea of you can do it. We're here if you need us. There was always this very strong emphasis of support. Like if you need to fall back on us, like I'll answer your question. It's not like I'm not here for you. It's just, this is not my job. Like this is your job. And learning to ask for help, that's something we still work on in our family. But that idea of having some of those skill sets around accountability and independence, and then you go to a higher education environment. Absolutely. And this is one of the things that's so hard for the transition in first years now in universities, is they weren't given these skills in secondary school. They've had no experience in managing their own time because someone has managed their time their whole life. And now they're thrown in these spaces that are incredibly independent. Like a professor in a classroom of 300 students is not,
he doesn't
caring about whether or not you hand in your assignment. Like you can hand it in, you cannot. It's not, no skin off my nose. So you face that. What was the peer-to-peer, like, did you lean on each other as students? Were there study groups? What was the community element in your program in higher education? Because I ask because I think that there is a real danger with so much technology in higher education these days and so many students taking classes online. I worry that a lot of students are missing out on the social benefits, like the benefits of social structures in the learning process, that whether it's study groups or you're asking questions or you're living in residence. And so you're able to work on and bounce ideas off each other for an assignment. So much of what I remember about my higher education experience was about the people I was in class with and the people I was working with, as much as my assignments and me working on my own. What was your experience?
Uh, I don't think I ever did an assignment with anybody else.
Okay.
You always got an assignment, you did it. So we all were separate rooms. So you'd go to your room, close the door, and you'd work on it. I know there were other classmates that they sort of went into one room and worked on the same classroom. I was never that. I found noise and like radios had to be. Oh, you guys are always noisy. I couldn't. Just went in my room, was quiet, and did the assignment. And these other guys, you could hear them laughing and goofing off, but they all got their assignments done. So everybody has their own way of doing things.
And then what about the social elements outside of school? Like, did you feel like there was a strong emphasis in your nursing degree around community and hanging out with each other or doing things outside of class?
Like community of the
students, your peer groups.
Students, yeah. Oh yeah, there was a lot of you do things together, you go places together, you go out for dinner together, and that sort of thing. After hours, after everybody's finished for the day. But yeah,
what do you think the impact?
Still, a lot of them are still best friends.
Yeah, and what do you think the impact of technology is going to be on that kind of experience for kids going through higher education now?
Well, I think it's going to be the same thing as in senior school. The computer's there. You can use it. You don't have to go outside your room to get all the info you need. The computer's there. Any picture you need, the computer's there, and it's all in your room. So that's what's missing there is you going out and finding out what is in the community, like the library, going to a store to get a magazine that you need.
Or like going out with classmates, going out for dinner, getting to know each other, like those types of things, do you think will be diminished in a world where so many kids are in their rooms and on their devices?
Well, I think certain amount it'll be impacted, but I still think, university students still go out. They find time to go out and socialize. Most students, there are always students that are quiet and it's the solitary, but most students find time to do whatever they want to do.
The human instincts will win out, and yes. The human instincts are to go out and party in higher education. Well, this is the other nugget too that I think I am forever. My path as an adult and a professional and an entrepreneur was forever altered when I had a conversation with my mother about my higher education. When I said, I want to be a teacher. I should go into a Bachelor of Education. And my mom said, well, I was in grade 12 at the time, like deciding what I was entering into for university, applying to. And my mother said, yeah, but you like education. Like, you like teaching, you probably want to be a teacher, but you don't know about all these other subjects and what you think about those because you've never experienced them. So I would suggest you don't go into a teaching degree. And instead, I don't think you would ever hear these sentences from a parent's mouth nowadays, Mom. Go into a general arts degree and
see what's out there.
And take classes in psychology and take classes in anthropology and see what you think, because you've never experienced those types of subject matter before. I don't know if I've ever met another person in my life who has ever had that kind of advice. And who I am as a professional now and what makes me marketable as an entrepreneur is often my interdisciplinarity. So I took classes in child developmental psychology. I have a major in sociology. I have another major in international development. And these are all things and elements of my career path that I would never have encountered had you not given me that advice. Would you still now give me that advice would hold true? You'd still say the same thing to me if we went back to that same moment?
Yes.
And what is it that made you say that? Because that is risky. It's risky to tell a kid to go do a general arts degree. Like, how am I going to make money doing that?
The thing is after high school, I said there's 1 year you have to go to university. I don't care what you take. You have to go to university for 1 year, because I think school from grade 1 to 12 is very close. What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't really spread.
Yeah, like a bubble.
Yeah,
you're in a bubble.
Yeah, and you're getting subjects you don't even care about. You're getting subjects you'll never use again, but it's all necessary. So if you get out and do 1 year university, you're on your own. You don't have to do assignments. It's all about responsibility, but you choose different things that you might like. And then, like I said, your sister never, I thought she was going in a whole different direction. I thought my son was
She thought she was going in a whole different direction as well.
And they've all chosen a path that they chose after seeing all sorts of other possibilities. And they've come out. But if you could go in with education and then you go and do a whole education, you hear about people, you get your education degree and then, what did I do that for? And then go to another where you save time and money by doing 1 year of take whatever you want. I didn't care what you took, as long as you took the number of courses you had to get 1 year, credit, and take whatever you want.
It's interesting because I would think that it required a great leap of faith for you to tell your children to go be free in that way. But ultimately, you're framing it like it was actually the smart strategic decision because it saves time and money on the back end.
Yeah.
Like if you take time to consider what you want and expose yourself to a variety of different things in the short term,
yeah,
that in the long term, you're going to be making a more informed decision about what it is you actually want to do, as opposed to rushing into something and deciding on something and then having to spend a lot more time and money to correct that.
Yeah.
But I do think, and it manifests too in traveling. Like my mother was a very strong proponent of getting us out of the house and out of the country and experiencing the world. How did you trust us so much? Or was it, like, I think it's really valuable. I think now more than ever, we should be it's all along these same lines as autonomy, responsibility, independence, resilience. You know how many times we talk about this word freaking resilience and grit or anti-fragility? There are like so many theories now because there are people who really have a hard time living life, like making choices. And these decisions that you made for us or that you helped us make for ourselves have cultivated in us being more resilient and less potentially fragile. We fail, we get up, we try again, we do, how as a parent, what did you think in your head? Did you have to say like, oh man, this is really risky, but I got to just like keep my mouth shut. I got to let them make this mistake, or I got to let them go do this thing. Like, what was that like for you as a parent to be able to trust us in that process?
I guess it was just faith that you would look after yourselves. I have no idea. I never had those discussions. I got excited for you, what you were doing, because I never ever did that. In my day, you were given you either were a secretary or a nurse. And my sister was a nurse, so I became a nurse. So I didn't experience any of the other. And as years went on, I always wanted to be, I always thought I would have become a lawyer if, I'd done what I asked you guys to do. Because then I would, it's just school. Your options are closed. That's it. Your options are closed in school. So when you get out in that first year, your options are numerous
for university.
You can, and I was excited when you went away. I was excited. People always said, "Are you abusing your kids?" I said, no, I'm excited when they go away to do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, she never cried at the airport. We were always asking her to cry at the airport. She would pretend hold a Kleenex for us to make us feel better. But you weren't putting your issues on us. You felt limited, that there were certain limitations placed on you when you were going through school, and you took pride and joy.
You took it. Yeah.
And you weren't nervous about how it was going to all turn out.
I don't know why. I just had great faith that as you went through the 12 years, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know that you guys did. And I understand that. But what I understood is what I saw and what you did. I thought, they're good kids. They're going to know when to say no. And they're going to, and then, the telephone, then no internet, no emails and no texts. You'd get a phone call and you'd ask, and how do I cook? No, her sister asked, how do I do a laundry? And this sort of stuff, you tell them and away they go. So you learn.
Well,
that's an education in itself to go away from home. And I was talked to a few people, and one person that I really respected said to me once that, do not allow your children to go to university in the same place you live. Like you guys got scholarships to UBC. No, you had to leave Vancouver and you had to go somewhere else. You could not be at home. And the difference is of how you grow up, you look after yourself, and you're still there as a net, because it's so, you're still young. So you're learning now instead of learning when you're in your 30s and all of a sudden there's no net and you're flying without wings.
Well, I've said it multiple times to your face, and now I say it recorded for all history, that I am the better for it. And the approach that you took to skill building from a very young age in education, that we were taught skills to take care of ourselves and be resilient, and that translated into the university setting and pushing us and challenging us to get out of our comfort zone, just the way I'm pushing and challenging you to get out of your comfort zone today. I can't thank you enough. I hope that there are parents who are listening and soon to be parents that take these lessons to heart, because having that balance between supporting your child and challenging your child, as well as let's do a stool with three legs. One leg of parenting is supporting your child, one leg of parenting is challenging your child, and one leg of parenting is letting your child be whoever they are going to be and giving them the space to do that. It has very positively influenced my life, and I hope hearing my mom's beautiful words of wisdom today has helped you. So thanks for pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, Mom. You're done. The Education Revolution podcast is produced in-house by community members, and I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Sengara. Thank you for listening to this week's episode, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and head over to my website to opt in for my newsletter for more ways to connect with some of these big ideas.